Chernobyl contained many secrets, but even amongst the labyrinth of lies and deceit created by the Soviet Union during the post-accident crisis, another secret stood waiting to be discovered by the wider world. A military installation like no other, a secret city. Once a crowning piece of the Soviets' military technology, it now stands alone, rusting and decaying to a shadow of its former self. Duga, the Russian woodpecker. Picking up exactly where we left off in episode 2, we leave the Deceit hotel in Chernobyl town and head north on Kirova Street. Igor is strangely quiet about our next destination. He deflects questions about where we are going next, but his smirk gives away his inner excitement for what he is about to show us. We drive approximately 8 kilometers on some of the worst roads I've ever experienced. Ukrainian roads are commonly poor at best, even before adding 33 years of abandonment to the equation. Suddenly, we turn left. We drive down what looks like a track. Except this is not a track at all, but a purpose-built Soviet concrete slabbed road. But why? Where does this road lead? Then our destination reveals itself on the horizon. Duga, the Russian woodpecker. Whilst I knew of Duga from my research before my trip, what I didn't know about was the secret town, in true Soviet numerically designated fashion, named Chernobyl 2, that was built alongside Duga. Chernobyl 2 was for the families of the radar operators. This garrison was home to approximately 1,000 people. Soviet command often designated such secret sites with fake identities. On maps, Duga and Chernobyl 2 was marked as a children's camp. The Duga radar consumed vast amounts of power. Because of this intense, relentless need for energy, Duga is located within close proximity to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The construction of both Duga and Chernobyl nuclear power plant commenced simultaneously in 1970. According to some sources, the cost of the radar was approximately 7 billion Soviet rubles. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant itself cost approximately half this. For context, 7 billion Soviet rubles in 1970 approximately converts to 6.3 billion US dollars in 2015. While Duga was operational, the radar disturbed radio frequencies beyond the borders of the Soviet Union, and this characteristic sound is what generated the nickname the Russian woodpecker. The next sound clip you hear is an example of Duga's interference. However, due to its proximity to the reactor complex, this Soviet military jewel could not escape the same fate as all other settlements following the 1986 accident. To this day, the object and Chernobyl 2 is left abandoned and surrendered to the radiation that flowed from the compromised reactor 4. As we walk around the radar lattice, it is hard to comprehend the sheer size of what is in front of you. Impossible to capture within one frame of a camera, and words do it little justice. The first antenna measures 150 meters tall by 500 meters wide. The second antenna 100 meters tall by 250 meters wide. Leaving the radar behind, but still on foot, Igor led us into the undergrowth towards the secret city. Walking past the ruins of the Chernobyl 2 steamworks, we make our way to the garrison's fire station. Located within one of the rooms of the fire station is a scale model of the radar and the city itself. The wooden portions of the floor have collapsed, but the supporting brick pillars still remain. The paint is literally peeling from the walls. The abandonment of this place really starts to sink in now. Igor now weaves us through the undergrowth, both around and into numerous apartment blocks that housed Chernobyl 2's population. Whilst the path was well trodden due to the countless visitors to the zone, making it difficult to get lost, Igor expertly picked a path that ensured we saw everything Chernobyl 2 had to offer. It was here, in this undergrowth, that I began to form what I now know as one of my resounding memories of the zone: the ambient sound. I expected silence, reflective of the abandonment and lack of human activity in the area. And whilst this lack of activity is true, the evacuation did not create silence. In fact, the complete opposite. Birdsong fills the air. As the humans left, the wildlife moved back. In this clip, notice just how loud and prevalent the birdsong is. As we pick our way through the undergrowth, the relics of the past become more and more apparent as our eyes become accustomed to spotting signs of the past. Benches, their wooden planks reclaimed to the earth, stand with nothing but their frames remaining. Igor excitedly guides us to another apartment building. We venture inside. In the 33 years since the accident, looters, souvenir hunters, and some original residents have emptied the zone of much of its valuable assets. Power boxes have been pried open and stripped for whatever valuable metal was housed within, but some things were simply too large to remove. Igor rushed ahead and we lost sight of him as he ducked into an apartment off the corridor. A haunting sound filled the silence. We rushed to catch up. Despite being 33 years out of tune, there Igor was stood in front of a still playable piano. It was in this building that the magnitude of where we were standing really first hit me. Glancing around, we were stood in what used to be someone's home. Who lived here? Where are they now? Did they survive? If the walls could speak, what stories would they tell? Instead, they stand, giving nothing but whispers into the past, as they slowly decay and fade away. A calendar remains pinned to the wall, 1986, a relic to the haste of the evacuation. We venture back outside into the undergrowth and make our way to the kindergarten. With close to 1,000 people living in Chernobyl 2, there was a kindergarten and a school. The large outdoor area of the kindergarten is, as with all things in the zone, being slowly claimed back by nature. The air once filled with the laughter of young children, now silent to all but birdsong. Running parallel with Kuchetova Street, we make our way to one of the most impressive sites in the Chernobyl 2 town complex, the high school. We enter the school along a dimly lit, damp corridor before being opened up to the gymnasium, the equipment simply left as it was. Walking along the corridors of the school, echoes of the past could be heard everywhere, each room holding clues to its previous function. Music rooms, geography classrooms, science labs, all abandoned. Throughout the school, as with many public buildings throughout the Chernobyl 2 complex and the wider exclusion zone, the messages and teachings of Lenin are always within eyeshot. motivational Soviet propaganda for their young workforce. Being a teacher myself, walking through the schools was one of the most emotionally difficult parts of the day. That could have easily been me and my students. Whilst the remains of schoolwork and equipment lie in testimony to the speed and efficiency of the Soviet evacuation once the order was finally given, they really did personalise the accident for me. Within the schools in particular, I noticed frequent collections of gas masks. I quizzed Igor as to why they were always found in groups. He explained that due to the looming threat of the Cold War, each citizen had access to a personal gas mask. And following the abandonment of the zone, looters returned, collected the masks, and harvested the small piece of silver from each gas mask's filter. Across the thousands of masks in the zone, this silver soon amounted to a volume worth taking the risk to collect. We continued to walk around the school, catching further glimpses to past life in this secret town. Previous visitors to the zone had posed the gas mask. Whilst a stunning photograph to take, my personal philosophy in the zone was to take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints. I shot what I saw. I didn't touch or move anything. We exited the school via the main entrance, a hint of the past grandeur glinting through the decay, before we continued along the now heavily overgrown Kuchetova Street, past Chernobyl 2 Hotel. Wearing a Geiger counter on my hip at all times, the infrequent click of the device is comforting. Each click is an audible representation of a detective piece of radioactivity. Although slightly higher than the max permissible 0.3 microsieverts per hour level for a Western European city, this area is still far from heavily contaminated at only 0.5 microsieverts per hour. Beyond the hotel resides what the Soviets would call a palace of culture, or what we'd better know as a community centre or social club. We enter through the front entrance and begin to explore the interior. First up, a theatre. Igor has strong opinions of this place. Brainwashing, propaganda, and sarcastically, motivation. We also explored one of the many gymnasiums within this complex. The previously manicured wood floors, now a rotten shadow of its former self due to years of neglect and weather ingress. I asked Igor why we'd already seen so many gymnasiums in such a small space. He explained that the mentality was that physically fit citizens were deemed healthy citizens. Healthy citizens best serve the motherland. Healthy citizens also make the best soldiers should they need to be called upon. This goes partway to explaining why so many Soviet towns had such a heavy focus on physical recreation and activity. The Russian bear mascot of the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games is stenciled to the windows here. Is this displaying pride in the mother country hosting the Olympics, or perhaps further coercive motivation for citizens to excel? We walk the last part of Kuchetova Street past a military building, the remains of the radar technology pillaged for any valuable materials that could be found in the scrap, before being unceremoniously discarded in the street. Having looped the whole town, we're back where we started, the guardhouse checkpoint. As with Dyatki, the high human traffic of this area makes it a prime spot to find a loitering stray. Back in our car, we head back down the once secret children's camp road to rejoin the main highway. From there, we take another left, heading north once again, this time closer to the core.